Rucker 12-inch straight edges along with 9s, which we're starting to see a surge in. We are doing everything we can to try to keep up with orders as they come in. So if you're waiting on yours, please be patient. They're coming, I promise you. I kind of have this on my own at the moment. Josie, as I said before, is running back and forth to Iowa, alternating with other family members because of an illness there. And so when she goes up there, she'll be gone like 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And she left out again today to head back up there. So I got this back on my own again. She was able to help out a little bit while she was here. Just know that I'm doing everything in my power to keep up with that. And at the same time, I am still working on all these one-off jobs that I've got here, along with getting more coming in by the day. Some of those I was able to farm out certain processes to other guys, and that's going to be primarily what this video is about. I'm going to introduce you to 2 of the local Mississippi guys that are near me that I plan on incorporating in the future of Windy Hill Foundry and their processes. His name is Zach, along with a co-worker of mine who is Joe. Well, he was a co-worker of mine. He has since left. The muller and the furnace have been giving me fits, but I am literally having to grease the squeaky wheel around here just to keep things moving. The muller and the furnace both are going down on me at the same time. We ended up jerking the old muller out and putting the older muller back in its place, along with brand new plows, which I put on there. And I did videos on all this. There is no telling how much video coverage I've got, but I just don't have time to stop and extract this and that because it isn't in order. So it's really frustrating. It takes a lot of time. And at this moment, I am training. We've went through 3 guys up till now, and if I didn't tell you, August the 18th is my last day, and we only have 20 days left as of right now. So I'm doing my best to focus on that, but I do have to say, my trainee is doing an excellent job, and I think he'll do just fine. This is going to be a major change for me, going from Arctic conditions. We keep that room at 68 degrees because of the CMMs year-round. So I'm wearing this Polar Expedition coat. But when you're sitting there for 8 hours editing, working, we got a 10-ton unit powering this small room. We've had quite a bit going on. As I've said, I've got 20 days left. I'm very excited. I'm no longer nervous. I'm ready to get this over with and let the dust settle and see where things fall. I do have several long-term jobs. I'll be able to share some of that with you, not all of it. One of them is a cross, which pertains to this video, and it's a memorial cross for a customer, Patrick Piggott. And he's actually a local here in Mississippi. We are going to be casting a bronze cross if we can just get to that point. I still have to make the core box and core print to go on this. I know how I'm going to do the core print. That's not going to take long. The core box is a whole different beast, and the way this is going to work, it's going to be a 2-piece cross, and well, I'll explain that in a later video. Cloud 42, if you don't know him, check out his channel. He and I are going to be working on a project together, and maybe I will have that in next week. I don't know if I'll have the video finished. If it's not next Saturday, it'll be the Saturday after that. So this is the old muller. The drivetrain is shot, and I didn't get any video of the gears, I don't think. Maybe I did. Yeah. Okay, so the gears are eat slam up in the gearbox on this. Keith came up not too long ago, 2 weeks ago I think, and he brought this gearbox. It's a 1-to-1 ratio though, so I still have to have a reduction for that. But we're going to have this back together soon and running, but I couldn't waste any more time on this, guys. We had to keep the molds going, so I ended up bringing this one back into life. Ended up having to put the motor on it. My wife's cousin, she and her husband and their kids were down about a month ago now. Scott is his name, and Scott and his boys both were a lot of help around here. I want to thank them, by the way. we've got so much going on that it's just more than Josie and I can do by ourselves. But anyway, Scott helped me get the motor back on this one, and we are now using it. We've got new plows. It's hard to tell, but I got brand new plows on the outside and on the inside, and we are able to continue to mull sand now. One customer has provided this silicone rubber pattern, and this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see this in this lighting, if you can make the detail out. But he provided this rubber pattern, and from there I pour these pieces in it. Now, I'm not going to tell you everything about these until later, but that's one of the things that I've been doing, is working on getting enough polyethylene resin patterns made off of this mold in order to round this up and pour. I still got to sand the gates, the sprue off, and get those coated with my super secret slick stuff that I use on the patterns. These hinges may not look special, but they are. These are going on a lighthouse that they're storing up in Lake Michigan. The name of the lighthouse would be the Port Austin Reef Lighthouse. You ought to check it out. And I'm going to do a more detailed video on these as well as we go forward. But I'm adding filler to these right now, trying to fill the voids. We only have, I guess you would call, female hinge, and they were able to provide 2 of those. We're going to have to mill off the bosses on this one and fabricate a one here in the middle to do this. The best, because there is a radius here, I have to be careful to keep that radius in there as we cast those. That's for the clearance of the mating male hinge that's going to go in there. Now, we have the right set here, so as soon as I'm finished with these, I'm going to coat them, make a rubber mold of that, and then we will be able to pour polyethylene resin castings off of that for patterns on the actual pieces. We need to knock this out as fast as possible. We've been trying to work on it and get back to it and do this and that as we keep the straight edges going, and this is just one thing we're working on, guys. This is an eagle for a LaFrance fire engine bell, and we have to make some of these up, and this video is going to be partly about this eagle. To keep it its original size, we're doing everything we can to get the exact replica. So in this video, you're going to see what we're going to do. We also needed a core. That's going to complicate matters a little bit. So, in the meantime, I made a silicone rubber core that went into, and that timing mark that I put there goes right there. I'm going to pour plaster around that silicone mold, and from there, we're going to take that out of the plaster mold, and that's going to be our core box. Also, in this video, I'm going to be getting a data cloud off of this like I am on the Eagle, and that is going to be for a hat ring. This, I believe, this goes on a 1857 hat making machine. I'll tell you more about that later and introduce you to the artist that makes these hats. And of course, you've seen this before. We're still not finished with it, still working on it. I will give you more details when we finally get the casting off of this, but I haven't given up on it, nor will I. We are going to produce a casting, which the process is also included in this video. So this is from a buddy of mine, Mexis Shop 1. His real name is Jesus Marquez, and he's a friend of mine on Instagram. And he's also a vice collector, along with a Delta tool fan. But anyway, this is a, if I remember right, this is a display for the Luther Tool Company, and he had 2 pieces. The letter E and this little square thing was missing, the little period. And what I did was I took, since this was in good shape on the old one, on the other one it was broken and this was in good shape, I made a rubber mold and poured around the letter E in this area, and then I transferred it over to this piece, and then I put filler in. I still have to grind the knock the flashing off, but this turned out and filled just perfectly. So once we clean that up, we're going to cast him a set of these to put, I believe this must go on both ends. I probably should have used something for better contrast with the red patterns, but I've already got the red towel out. So this is the pattern, and this is the core box. This goes to the Minneapolis Streetcar Museum, and we're going to be doing a video on this, but they test printed a piece on what this is going to look like, and that's it. They call it a heart. This is actually going to hold, when it's cast, the wheel that's in contact with the overhead cable for the streetcar. So anyway, this is just an example of what this is going to look like once it's cast. This is a set of patterns made by Richard Freer, a good friend of mine up in New York. And guys, it's this stuff right here that makes things flow like they should. A lot of the patterns that I'm showing you here are bottlenecking the process because I have to go in and fix little things here and there and then put it to the side and try to get back to it as I can. These are professionally made patterns. Check out the joinery work. Beautiful. And check out the nice precision brass registration pins that are installed. Can you see that? So anyway, I just wanted to show you what good patterns are supposed to look like, along with the ones for the Streetcar Museum. These two guys knew what they were doing. They had all the hard work done. So there's not going to be anything to hold these jobs up. So you will probably see a video on these coming up pretty soon. This, my friends, is a bronze memorial cross pattern. We are going to be doing these for a cemetery in the Madison, Mississippi area. We are still working on this. It's hard to tell in this view, but on the face you have a huge concave radius. The projectional part of it was done by me, and the one thing I wasn't going to be able to do was mill that huge radius, which leads us on into the next clips. The radius needed to be a spear, and the only way to achieve that, it was like a 124-inch spherical radius, I believe. And the only way to do that would be to hang it from a pendulum 23 feet high or something like that, I can't remember. And it was going to be like 2 feet higher than the highest peak of my building. And my idea originally was to just swing a router from that, dangling it, just to cut that tool path and be done with it. Well, that turned into a project that I realized would be best suited for a CNC router. So I started looking, and luckily I found Zach, who I will introduce coming up. This is another pressing job right here. I've got to cast these in yellow brass. And I'll tell you guys, this finish is rough. It's like 80 grit sandpaper. So I've got to coat it with something. There's no way this is going to pull from the sand. And I'm running out of time on that. I got to get this done. All this has to be cast in yellow brass, and I think these two also, I'll have to reread the letter. If a casting will pull from the sand with no problem, I can round the stuff up and get it right out. But now when I got situations like this, now I got to make a decision on how I'm going to coat it. And I had someone last year, the year before last, who had left a comment about dipping these in wax. I've never tried that. I'm going to be honest with you, I've never tried it. It doesn't sound like it would be a bad idea, and I may have to do that. The only thing is, when you go to my thoughts on that are, it would have to be a pretty thick coat in order to smooth out the irregularities right here. And with the pressure of ramming sand around that, to me, my thought is that it's going to squeeze into the wax, and it's going to defeat the purpose altogether, because it's still going to grab the wax. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to do anything to these that would permanently mar them, because these are actual castings here, so you don't want to do anything that could be detrimental to their use as they're reassembled. Okay, this just came in today. Wife called me laughing hysterically about how many stamps were on this package. This is some parts that my friend Alexander Vitrosky, he is Vice for Vices on Instagram. Alexander bought an 1874 Westfall screw cabinet. Now these were an elaborate display case, as you're going to see in this picture here. Yeah, it's a work of art. So we got to make a few pieces. They are very thin and fragile, and for something to survive as long as this has, it's in very good shape. But anyway, we're gonna be making some new pieces for him in an upcoming video as well. Now, I explained to all these guys, because of the production work steadily coming through, you know, it will take some time to work all this through. We'll probably be doing this in individual videos as I go through this, because we do have so many. That is some of the things that we're working on and working in as we go on the straight edges. I decided you needed to see a little peek of what is actually going on in my other parts of the world that I don't show on video. And when you see me going a long time without putting a video out there, it's because I'm swamped. And, well, actually, that's an understatement. So on to the video of these two guys that are helping me out in situations to help bail me out of tights. And I also want to give a special thanks to my buddy Keith Rucker. Keith has been a significant help for me. He's not just a customer of mine, he is a good friend who has helped me out with a lot of stuff that is just out of my control. Hey everybody, I want y'all to meet Zach Tanksley. Zach, he's a woodworker. I've told you about Dave the Pattern Guy, you know, he's one of my go-to guys. Well, this is another one now. Zach has invested in a CNC wood router. That's the one thing my guys don't have that Zach does. So I've got some future projects along with one I'm going to show you here in a second.
So I build cabinets, furniture, any kind of custom woodworking. I've been doing this about 8 years roughly, and I've been just piecing my shop together a little bit at a time here and there, and I finally got it up and going, and been staying busy. I've got my big machine over there that he's fixing to show you, and it's an animal, but it's been fun. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. So this machine, it's a CNC router. You know, works off a computer. You design, program, do whatever. It'll cut out all your parts. It'll cut out anything from 2D to 3D dimensional, you know, complex parts. So, you know, it's got a 5-horse router on it. It's got 10 tool changer back there. So if I'm doing something that requires multiple bits, multiple tools, it'll swap between those all on the fly. You know, it does some really incredible stuff. You know, I taught myself. I had a small one and I upgraded to this one this year, and so far it's been fun. It's been a wild ride.
And can you tell them what the axis is on this?
So it's a 4x8. It's got the X across the board, Y is down that way, the Y axis, and then the Z axis up and down. And then I've got a 4th axis attachment to where it'll turn into a lathe, and so I can create, you know, leg turnings, anything round. It doesn't even have to be round. It can be square or octagon or whatever.
And you got a really nice tool changer set up here. I like that. So how many tools?
So it'll hold 10 tools, 10 different bits. So a lot of jobs, like if I'm running cabinet doors or something, sometimes it takes 3 different bits to achieve the profile. So instead of having to stop and re-zero everything, I can program it to where it'll pick up which bit it needs to at the correct time and go from there. It does a lot as far as my cabinets too. It takes the place of 3 machines in this one.
Well, guys, like I said, I've got a lot of projects, especially now that I'm going to be semi-retired, that I want to get cranked up, and I'm probably going to be utilizing Zach anytime I can, along with Dave and some other guys. But I've got a lot of specialty stuff that will require a CNC machine, and I'm thankful to have found Zach. Tell us about your saw system here. You got a panel saw going.
So this is a big panel saw, so you can lay your sheet goods up here and do all your cutting, the whole carriage slides, get all your stops here. It's got a scoring blade, so if you're cutting real fine veneers, veneer plywood, it will chip out. It's a 3-phase, it's a monster machine, but it really is precision.
This is a molder. It's a William & Hussey. You don't know what date it is, do you?
It's probably, I wouldn't be afraid to say it's early 90s, if that.
Okay. And then he's got a wood lathe. He's got a complete setup here. He's even got a really nice, what size vacuum table is this?
This is a 4x8 vacuum table, so you can stick stuff in here. You can do sheets as far as if you want to just laminate 2 sheets together. But I use it a lot for doing curved molding.
Right.
So I can do laminate pressing and make a curved form, and then lay all your plywood on it. 1/8-inch plywood, glue it, press it, and it'll leave it for a couple hours. And when it comes out, it's the shape that you have on your mold. I think this thing puts out around 2,000 pounds per square foot.
Ice you got down there.
And I've been so busy, I hadn't had time to do anything with it.
Yeah, that is. I want to get one or make one day.
That one will go flip, spin. It'll do all of it. This right here is an edge bander, and so you run your plywood through it. I'll show you. So this right here is my plywood. I run it through there and it puts this nice edge on it for all my cabinets and stuff. So it's got 2 trim routers, 2 cut-off saws in it, and it's a bunch of moving parts. It's one of the most finicky machines in woodworking.
Huh. Holzer, is that a German company?
Yes, sir.
And then
you see where I spend most of my time is not here anymore, and so it's just kind of, I need them when I need them, but for the most part they just kind of sit there.
What is that, a 14-inch thickness planer?
It's a 16, I think 15 is what it is. 15-inch planer, 12-inch joiner there.
Yeah. Of course, he's got some other equipment too, along here and along the back wall. If you're in the central Mississippi area and you're needing some serious woodwork done, give Zach a call. I'm going to post his number here. Now, what I came here for today is, so how I found Zach, I've got a customer, his name is Patrick, and I've introduced you to Patrick before. He's the one that bought the old Foundry building in Jackson and converted it, and working on for on and off as I have time, and it's to make a memorial cross, and we're also going to be making more of these for the cemetery up in Madison. I don't know when we're going to really get that kicked off. We're going to get the first one cast pretty soon, but this particular cross has a convex to it, a sweep in both directions. It's a hemisphere on this face, and there was no way I was going to be able to do that because the radius was so big. So that's when I had to start digging. I got to thinking I ought to call the Scott County Votech Center and see if they by chance have a CNC router. These days you never know. They didn't, but what was the guy's name?
Timmy Fungi.
Timmy
Fungi.
Fungi. All right, so the principal of the school, his name is Timmy Fungi, and he was able to hook me up with Zach. He and Zach go to the same church, and he highly recommended Zach. He was telling me that Zach just bought this. Now, Zach is new to the CNC router, so he wants to learn this as much as he possibly can. So if you're interested in having any kind of work done for him, you would need to provide him with a data file that would work with his equipment.
Unless it's something, you know, that my software is capable of drawing.
And you're using VCarve?
Vectric VCarve.
Vectric VCarve. I want to introduce you to a fellow co-worker of mine at my part-time job I'm fixing to leave. This is Joe Gaddis. And Joe is going to be helping me on some projects today we're going to show you. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about Joe, or let him tell you. He's pretty sharp. He's got some really cool projects going on outside here, and with his permission, I'll video some of that and share with you as well.
Yeah, so as Clark said, by day I'm a manufacturing engineer at his part-time job. Unfortunately, my full-time job currently. I am just getting started with starting my own business. Long term, I'm going to be doing automotive restorations and performance work for American classic vehicles. But right now, I'm doing a lot of reverse engineering for people, 3D printing, 3D scanning, CNC mill work, and things of that nature, just to kind of get my feet underneath me and progress forward until I can start doing automotive work.
And the reverse engineering end of it is what we're going to be covering today. I've got 3 different things that I'm going to see if we can scan and get a data cloud of, and I'm going to send it to Keith. Keith is going to print this with the 3D resin printer, I hope. And which you're getting one of those as well.
Yes, working on getting one of those as well.
And but anyway, the advantage to this is I have one particular object, I'll show you in a second, which is a hat ring for Miss Mary Pyron, and it's going to basically be the same contour, same shape, except I have to make several different ones to match what you call a hat block. It's a long story. I'll have a video later on just that. But the advantage to that is we'll be able to increase or decrease the size of it to give it the proper amount of clearance around a hat block. Like I said, we'll cover that later. We're gonna do this part now.
Just trying. I may have to go give it a little bit of contrast though. Because what I'm worried about, some of the key features in there that you're going to want to redo it is it may struggle to get. But let's just see what we come up with.
All right.
And then so right now I'm putting markers on this so that it can keep track of where everything is at.
So you could, with the markers in place, there's no need to flip it upside down because it's just flat in those spots where it touches the table.
But in theory, I could flip it upside down.
You could and lock back in on those same target points.
Yep, lock back in. So like if I were to rotate this, trying to get this inside area, which I very well may still, I could use these as reference. It's going to get those, roll over to the inside, and then I can scan the inside.
Okay, all right. And it is, there were some places I had already kind of patched with the water putty. So that's your little white chalky looking spots there. But this, we're going to try to scan this next. And as we were discussing, the Eagle, he's going to put some kind of a plastic coating on there to give it better contrast to pick up. And we're going to try that again in a little bit. It's a little too shiny, and but I was surprised. It did pick up fairly well. I'd say at what, 80%?
Yeah, for his first time around, it was pretty good. And that's kind of the thing about the 3D scanner here is it's kind of just figuring out what it wants and what you need to do. And it picks up on white things very, very well. And so that's why I want to use the white plastic dip. It's going to allow that scanner to pick up so much better.
Okay.
And see, auto wants me to be at 2. Let's try it with an auto mode and see how at 2 it works. And then if that doesn't take very well, then I'll go back into a manual mode and try scanning it some more. So it's picking it up pretty good.
Good.
I think we're gonna, so we end up relocating this a little bit and pulling it back because I'm not getting the full model, but it's picking it up very well. And so I prefer to use a marker mode if I can. I was just worried about trying to use marker mode on that since it had so many fine details on it.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. The only place you could really put it is on the base and the bottom half of it.
Yeah.
But would that be pretty, I mean, I could see where, well, I understand the markers as far as locking in and holding everything back to that point. And you put them all over everything, and I was thinking, well, if you only put them in one area, as long as it can see that from any angle, will it matter?
Yeah, so that's where coming in and placing it on the table with that eagle may work. So putting a whole bunch of little circles around the eagle on the table so that it can track the table location and always be there where the table is at.
All right, so Joe is readjusting the angle here. If you look at the digitized image, waiting on it to focus here. If you look at the digitized focus, there's some gaps it didn't quite make on the very crown there. So he's gonna rescan it, and with the aid of the markers that he's got on there, it's gonna realign everything. It'll hold everything back to its original, and you can actually make a composite as you rescan it, if I understand it right.
Yeah, that's correct. So you see all the little red dots on the screen. What it's done is it's picked back up on those markers. So I moved the scanner, but although I moved the scanner, it knows where those points are at. And now I can go in and get the top of it and fill in these holes. You can kind of see where it went back in and filled in the top where they were not filled in at.
Yep. I can just keep my camera focusing. That's pretty neat. I see. So it's making it, it's doing a lot better now, refining that.
And so, of course, the more points that you take, the better the file that you get. But you kind of reach a point in which you have too many frames, and then the file becomes really big, and it becomes difficult to work with, right?
Right.
So that's some of the things that you have to take into consideration when you're doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Is where's that sweet spot of I got a good information and versus.
Because you don't want to incorporate noise into it.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's the same way with that laser I use at work. You got to take in way too many points, and you'll have spikes all over the place.
So what I'm going to try to do now is flip this over and try to keep these points here. I got it paused, but in the same spot. So I'm just going to flip it over, and hopefully it can track it. If not, then we may have to start over and come up with another way of going about doing this. So
guys, in the future, if you have any objects that you need scanned, that you need a data cloud on to provide a 3D file to get remanufactured, Joe would be a very good contact for you to make a connection with, and I'm going to share his contact info here below and in the link. Just an update. Wanted to show you guys how far along we've come with this scan, and as you can look, and he's got, alright, so explain the right model and the left model.
Okay, so over here on our right screen we have this pulled up in Fusion 360, and I'm going to do some more work on it and turn it into a part file, so a solid part file that we can then go in and edit and add and remove features and actually have a part file that he can do something with. On the left-hand side, we've done some hole filling, smoothing out the mesh, the point cloud file, and then converting it over into a mesh, into an STL file that this could be 3D printed as it is. I want to clean it up a little bit more because you can kind of see some issues where it's not quite flat there, and it picked up some other little defects that I'm going to go back and fix. But I have a great deal of information here that I can now use in Fusion 360 to create a model that we can add radiuses for casting and things of that nature a lot better, and define some of these characteristics a lot better. It's a good starting point. I'm going to go back, measure it, and then have a complete model of this, and we can do whatever we need to from there.
Alright, so to show you the detail of everything that will be picked up from a scan, we're going to do this demonstration on this bust. And so from there you would actually have a hard physical copy of the original scan. And the advantage to this is, especially for me in the casting end of it, is you can scale this model up instead of actually making a cast of the original object and then recasting it where you're going to have a little shrinkage, which on a feature like this, no bigger than it is, it wouldn't matter. But you'd be able to regain your 1-to-1 ratio.
And so from there I would stop this scan, say that it's complete, and then I'm going to export this into another software and kind of clean it up a little bit, and then from there I can convert it over into a mesh file, so in this case an STL. But this is just a real quick scan to show Clark some of the details in which we can pick up. And like I said, so this is what he means by a point cloud. It's just that. It's a whole bunch of little points. And so the closer you zoom into it, the more you realize you see it's just a lot of points. The further you zoom out, of course I didn't get the top here, but this is just for demonstration purposes. I would have went back and got that filled in. Also would have filled in the bottom there, because right now it's just an empty shell. And so all I'm trying to do right now is get it to where it does this. And so at this point in time, I'm going to export it just to show you all kind of what we're doing here. So I would export that file. And so I would bring it in here. And so just quick, like not just really messing around with it that much. I can smooth this out. There will be some other post-processing stuff that I would do to it, but right now I'm just going to show you exactly going to a mesh file from a point cloud to a mesh, which is when you go to a mesh, you have a whole bunch of little small triangles that forms the shape that you want. And from there I can save it as an STL file and then directly 3D print it when all the holes and everything like that is filled in. So right now it's converting this point cloud over to a mesh file. I went with fine so that it could show the highest level of detail, and that just takes a little while longer to do. But you can kind of see where it tried to fill in on that, where I didn't have that filled in at the top. But I just wanted to show Clark on this eagle that he has here that I can pick up on these fine details, like on this bust where the hair and all of that is picked up on. Yeah. And as you see, it's now a mesh.
I had to switch over to my other camera. We filled that card up quick. But basically, Joe was just illustrating the detail that we can actually shoot for.
See the detail of the hair on this model versus here, and it picks up on a lot of that information with the point cloud. And you know, if I sat there and I played around with it a lot better, I could get a better scan. This is just a quick and dirty scan to show the capabilities of it.
Right. So this particular piece is not one of mine. We were just, like as he said, just for demonstration, we're using that. The main pieces that I brought are going to be the hat ring, the eagle, and then this box I keep showing you guys. We have we have resorted to trying to scan that, and we're just gonna make a good old-fashioned pattern with a core print in it, where I can hurry up and get that guy his casting. This is my fault for telling the guy I thought I could do it, and then it turned out I couldn't get it out of the box. As I said, the wax model would not come out of there. So we're going to use what we have on the idea of this box, and we're going to take and we're going to create an actual split pattern with a core print, and just do it the old-fashioned way, just to hurry up and get him this casting that he's patiently waiting on. So he's got a what size again?
TM0P.
Yeah.
So TM0P Haas, yeah.
Yeah. How many tools can you change?
It's 10 tool changer. I'll actively use 9 of them because I leave my probe in my 10th hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you had it?
So I've had this a little over a month, probably about a month and a half.
Oh, so
yeah, I ordered it last year, but it took a while for it to get here.
Well, it's a wonder I could tear you away from this. I'm sure you were probably wanting to play on it.
It is very new. Yep. Did some work on it yesterday for a bracket for my car here. Just kind of using this to get going with my manufacturing and things of that nature.
So what have we got here, Joe?
So this is a 72 Chevelle that I am in the process of bringing back to life and restoring. Done a lot of rust repair to it, and now I'm kind of in the process of doing a few little custom parts here and there. But it's going to be a Pro Touring build. Completely went through the suspension on it. I've redone the chassis, stiffened it up. I've been kind of playing around here in the engine bay. One of the brackets that I made, just kind of prototyping until I could finish it, was figuring out how to get this hydro boost system off of an Astro van to work onto my car for my braking and things of that nature. That's one of the things I was working on. About to work on doing a custom belt drive on that. That's actually what I'm doing later today.
Okay.
Doing a custom belt drive. This is just something that I grabbed out of the junkyard to get some measurement reference points off of.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back and make some billet aluminum bracketry for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you wonder to what degree he's probably going to have this car in, it's probably going to be just like this baby. It's a 65 Chevy SS Impala. My dad actually had one of these, and it's a funny story. Well, it's not. In a way, it is. He T-boned somebody in Memphis when I was just a baby, and according to my mom, I was in the back seat. Those 4 car seats, and my head got lodged in between the bucket seats. That's what saved me from going through the windshield. I had a huge head back then.
Yep, so that's kind of some of the things that I do. This is more along the lines of a cruiser more than anything. I don't thrash on it that hard. I just cruise with it.
Right, right. It's a good looking ride.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm down here in Louisiana. I'm with a guy here. This is Joe Hutto, and Joe is the. Go ahead and tell him your title. You didn't. I forgot.
I'm the engineering manager at Foundry in St. Francisville, Louisiana.
And anyway, he and his dad invited me out to his dad's place, and it turns out I'm going to be buying some a muller, a heavy-duty grinder, a cool-looking steel cart. What do you call that cart? It looks like a coal wagon to me.
Yeah.
And an inverter, a crane, and the molding machine is another squeeze jolt. So I'm going to have 2 of those. I had to come down here this morning and take a look at this stuff, and I wanted to make sure that this is something I'm going to be able to use. Joe's dad guaranteed me that the inverter does run, so as long as it runs, I'll be able to use everything else, because I'm going to definitely need it for that that muller.
Yeah.
What horsepower you think that is?
It's at least, huh?
30.
He says 30.
Wow.
I have no idea.
Wow.
I'm not going to venture to guess.
That's a lot. But anyway, I just wanted to introduce you to Joe, and I wanted to thank him and his dad for letting me see this stuff.
Look at you, buddy. Look at you. Yeah, I got my beans up there, Jeff.
And they got a hoss of a grinder here. You said this is a, what'd you call this grinder? It's from the D-Days?
Oh, the grinder, yes. 4D Day is the part number.
4D-Day.
Yeah, you can look at it on the nameplate there.
Yeah, I'll step over there in a minute. I got that.
Type 4D Day.
Well, this camera, this phone has surprised me. I can see all that. They're getting better with these things. And I'm standing on top of a molder. And it is a, can't see the name on it.
I think it's on the back of that round thing collar. In the back.
Alright, but this is a squeeze jolt. This is not Dollar, this is Jake.
He said, I'd like to meet Dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Jake can come up and meet Dollar. They both have the same temperament.
You ready? Okay, on the nose. On the nose.
Oh, we got to train Dollar to do that.
No. Sit. No. That was good enough. You keep messing them up.
For those who have been asking about the Windy Hill Foundry hats, these are now available on my website, windyhillfoundry.com, under stores, or you can click on the above link. These are on the pricey side, but keep in mind the shipping is included. Have a good day.